It is the appointed hour of 1 p.m., so I will call this council meeting of June the 8th to order. Mayor Kentner sends his regrets, so I will be in the chair today. And I will invite everyone who is able to please stand and join us in the singing of O Canada. Thank you, and we always appreciate when we have some audience members to help us with the singing of O Canada. And the land acknowledgement. Who has the land acknowledgement handy? Do you have it, Councillor Porter? Would you please read that for us?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor Porter. I will ask everyone to join me, please, in a moment of reflection. And just before we do that, I wanted to share, as perhaps some of you are aware, that yesterday, June the 7th, was the National Canadian Armed Forces Day. So I thought it would be very appropriate if we thought about the people who serve our country and pause to honor them for a second as we do our moment of reflection today. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest around the horseshoe today? Recognizing that an interest can be declared at any point during the meeting. Thank you. And we'll move forward to announcements. And who would like to begin with announcements? Councillor Uhrig.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. A couple, actually. Yes. Saturday, June 13th coming up. At the co-working corner in the SCP Center, but it is actually the Gum Gallery that is having the Dramatic Arts Market. And this is the first time for them doing this. So it'll be interesting. What it's going to be is it's for all the creatives, and Meaford certainly has its share of those. And there will be local artists, makers, and creatives there with costumes, creativity, and community fun. So I'd recommend anybody who's interested in the arts go down and see that. It's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that's again at the SCP Center. One more, if you'll indulge me, then Monday coming, the Art of Adventure on June 15th. So TIFF to MIFF, this is a lead up to the annual MIFF, and this is the 20th anniversary. So there are 4 films being shown on Mondays, one a month till then. And the Art of Adventure is actually about, in 1957, world-renowned wildlife artist Robert Bateman and spirited biologist Bristol Foster embarked on a global expedition in a Land Rover. And this is a movie about that story. So that's Monday, June 15th at Meaford Hall.
Thank you, Councillor Uhrig. Any further announcements? Then I would just add that this Coming Sunday, June the 14th, will be the Riverside Breakfast in honor of Father's Day, and that's from 9 until 1 at Riverside Community Center. It's $15 for the very best breakfast that you will see anywhere. Everything from tomato aspic to scrambled eggs and barbecued bacon, so not to be missed. Come out and support Riverside if you can. And over to staff, and I believe Director Perry Maybedaw that you have some announcements for us.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to give an update on some important bridge work that's beginning in the upcoming weeks on two different structures. The bridge at the intersection of Lakeshore Road South and Centerville will undergo concrete repairs. And so it will be expected that the road will be closed. There's also barrier replacement occurring on this bridge, as well as some slope stabilization and guide rail that will be installed on Centerville Road. We also have our construction project on side road, 13 side road between Gray Road 12 and the 7th line commencing for concrete repairs on a bridge structure. This work will include approximately 1 kilometer of asphalt paving as well. And so this section, there will be a section of 13 side road that will also be closed during this construction. Work on both structures is expected to begin in upcoming weeks and will continue until the fall.
Thank you, Tori. It's always good to hear about projects getting underway. Director Carbert.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is, I know, a week and a half out or closer to 2 weeks, but the last council meeting before this opportunity. But on Saturday, June 20th, we will be celebrating the opening of the new splash pad down at McCarroll Park. The event is from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. So attendees will have an opportunity to view the new splash pad, take a ride on the trackless train. There'll be some story time sessions, touch a truck with the fire trucks, and the museum exhibits that as well. So the train will take you around to each one of those stations, and so you don't miss anything. And there'll also be a lunch included. So the splash pad, we were trained on it as staff last week. There's still a little bit more commissioning to go with it and tweaking. And we're just hoping to get some grass growing around it so that on the 20th, it's ready to hit the button and let's go.
Sounds really, really exciting, and we're crossing our fingers for a perfect sunny day. And no further announcements? Then we will move forward to public participation. Members of the public are encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and will be limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or ask a public question of council, they may do so either in person at the council chambers or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 a.m. on the day of a council meeting by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes and public questions are limited to 2 minutes. The public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel at www.meaford.ca/YouTube. We do not have any presentations today, but we do have a deputation, and I will look to our technical advisor here to make sure that we have the deputant online. Okay, then I believe the deputation today will be from Suresh Singh. Would you please go ahead, Suresh?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Perfectly.
great. Good afternoon, Council. And Mayor, and Deputy Mayor, sorry, and thank you for allowing me to make this deputation. The first thing I would like to say is thank you for considering the staff recommendations that are going to be brought forward shortly today on our development on our on our final phase in Meaford, and hopefully there'll be plenty of more phases of various developments in the future, but this would be for our first development there. I wanted to speak to resourcing within the municipality related to the planning department in particular, and walk you through the experience that we've had on timing. And at the same time, let council know that we see no issue. It's not a staff not getting stuff done. It appears to be an incredible staff overload. The first thing I'd like to address is us getting to be able to sell homes in Meaford. We have a draft approval on our site, and we wanted to make some modest changes to it in order to introduce more affordable single family homes as opposed to townhomes, given we have 38 that are constructed, 24 that are about to start construction. That brings us up to 62. And we felt the right balance in what the marketplace is missing is single family homes at a very affordable price, meaning in the 400s and low 500s, something that comparable product like ours does not exist. We have not seen it in the province of Ontario. And we have many municipalities reaching out to us to bring us in to do work there. But we just haven't had the opportunities that we saw made a lot of sense. But Meaford is one that it makes a lot of sense. And we've been very successful there. And we now have a very short window for selling new homes based on the tax relief that the province and the federal government have put in place. The HST tax relief has really helped us bring prices down to a level that still other builders and developers cannot compete with or simply are not interested in providing homes of this level. And our fear is this: we had this 12-month window, and on April 1st of next year, when that tax relief is gone, the expectation is new home sales are going to collapse in our province. And we truly believe we need to sell out our development before March 1st or 31st of next year. And the only way we can do that is by continuing to push forward with draft approvals, because draft approvals permit us to sell homes. But at the same time, in order to sell a home, you have to be able to provide a closing date. And that means we need to have a clearer understanding of the approval process post-draft approval, meaning engineering design and pre-servicing agreements, development agreements, and ultimately registration of our plans. And right now, given the staff overload and the headcount at the municipality, it's very difficult for staff to truly be able to say, Suresh, Lunkal, we can have you on council on this particular day. I'll give you an example. Our second phase with the 24 townhomes that we're starting to build right now, we are servicing right now. We met with staff last May. We went through the process of them understanding what we were looking for, the fact that most of those 24 townhomes pipes were already in the ground, and that all we had to do was a very simple red line to our draft approval in order to move things forward there. And that had to go to council. That got to council really quickly. And we were so overjoyed with that happening. And council did what we hoped and approved that red line, which also included providing us with service capacity to make sure that those homes could actually be constructed. But then it came to us creating a pre-servicing agreement. And the pre-servicing agreement really was, for lack of a better word, a short form and simplified version of the development agreement from our first phase. And we had tried to get that on to council and get it approved through staff for months and months and months, something that should have taken a matter of weeks between the law firm that the municipality uses and the fact that staff was just overloaded and could not get to address that agreement. It finally got approved in November when it should have been July or August. The fact that it got approved in November, we said, okay, we want to start servicing. We go to our servicing contractor. Can you service now and provide us with base coat asphalt by the end of the year? the answer was no. There's no way that you can start servicing in November and think that you're going to be putting down asphalt in December because the asphalt plants are closed. And this meant that we could not service until the spring, which is what we did. We got out there as quickly as possible and started to do that. But the reality of it is, we should have had 12 homes fully constructed and occupied months ago, earlier in this year. We should have had the other 12 ready for occupancy by August, 2 months from now, because we've been very successful on the sales side. And to put this into terms that I believe are important to the municipality, the economic development piece is, that's about $700,000 in development charges that we were not able to pay because we did not have the approval in place at the time. It meant 24 building permit fees, and then obviously a tax base of another, $100,000 a year. What we do not just serves the community at large, because again, we provide what they can afford, but it serves to be strong economic development for the municipality. And we look for no financial relief whatsoever. So we are a company that is supportive of growth, paying for growth. So we do not put any burden onto the rural areas in Meaford. We simply add value to the municipality. If the goal of the municipality is to actually have affordable and attainable homes. So now we run into our third and final phase, which is one you're going to hear today. And what we're asking for has been very simple, and the county is ready to approve it very quickly. And we were hoping that we'd be on in April. Staff did their best to try to get us on in April. But the fact is we're on in the first week of June. And what that means is after it goes to the county, assuming we're approved at municipal council here, we're probably not going to get through the county and the appeal period until August and possibly September. And that means that 12-month window of selling, which is something we really, really needed, is going to be 7 or 8 months. And I know I can sit here and really try to push things along at this point, knowing that we probably have a window that we can anticipate now that we'll be selling August, maybe no later than September. But we believe strongly that it should not have happened this way. That the municipality, this is something we've spoken to staff about last year, the municipality should be pushing forward with getting support for staff on rudimentary agreements and reports that get written, not for them to the third party consultants to actually deal with the planning side, but they deal with more of the administrative side and the agreement side, to take that weight off of staff and the report side off of staff. And we're hoping very strongly that the municipality is going to consider that. And this is not, again, a situation where we're saying we want to burden the municipality with any financial impact. We're saying we will pay those fees. They will be passed on to the development, any development that says, hey, we need this fast track, so let's opt for the third party consultants getting involved and working side by side with the with staff. We pay for that, not the municipality. Again, we are strongly looking for two things: economic for the development for the municipality, but mostly for us, it's our mission of building attainable ownership homes for the community at large. And we know that if we do those things effectively, that we will be a successful company and be rewarded with look at, we're a private company, we have to have profits, and we will be rewarded with modest profits. And I can tell you they are modest because, again, no other builders or developers are doing what we do. with comparable product on a price basis. I'm really here to be a voice to support staff in the strongest of ways and have them have a voice with council where council looks at things that are within zoning bylaws, that are they are within town and county OPs. They're approved, and for council to consider strongly delegating more authority to staff in order to fast track things that can get done in a rapid basis. I do believe there's a very, very cautious approach that staff takes, but what I'm asking is for staff to be able to take an approach that's similar to other municipalities that are of size and scale of Meaford. And I do believe that that's going to be very, very helpful, especially if they're able to lean on third-party consultants and third-party law firms. I don't say that leaning on those firms should be taken lightly. I think the development community should be consulted on this. I do think that those third-party consulting firms need to understand who their boss is, and that's the local municipality. Because I do find with engineering and the peer reviewing of engineers that they tend to believe that they are running the show as opposed to being paid for by the municipality and serving the municipality, and hence timelines from peer reviewers tend to be even slower than municipalities that have internal engineering staff. So we would love to participate with staff in coming up with a process for selecting or having a list of consultants that are pre-approved by the local municipality, a process for us to be able to, for staff to be able to engage them to complete work that is more burdening on their time, but also shouldn't really require the approval from council, given some of these decisions are well within existing zoning bylaws, existing draft approvals, and meet the town and county official plans. I know I sound like I'm belly aching here a lot, but we are very, very worried about what's going to happen with the new home market come April of 2027. And we do believe council needs to be very, very proactive, especially with companies like ours who are truly serving the local municipality and attracting new families to the municipality. And I'm hoping that that's something that council finds attractive and appealing, and is a goal of council to build the local municipality in population and ownership by new homeowners in the community. So thank you. I think I've covered everything I wanted to, and really appreciate that. If there's any questions for me, I can stay on, or I'm happy to meet with council and staff on another predetermined time. Thank you
Thank you.
for hearing me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for speaking with council today and for sharing everything that you have. And first of all, I want you to know how much we appreciate you being here in Meaford to provide the attainable housing that you are. I see as quickly as your homes are built that people are moving into them, and you are providing housing in a price bracket that was definitely missing in Meaford. So we are grateful for that. And I think I also appreciate your suggestion of your experience working with our staff and the fact that they are at times overwhelmed, if we can say that. And I think as a council, we know that because we understand that it's challenging to retain a full complement of staff in the planning department in particular. And when they do become short-staffed, then it's difficult to keep up with things. And I'm glad to hear that you do understand that. But I would suggest, and I'll look to Director Can, that perhaps a meeting be scheduled, as you suggest. You've offered a lot of suggestions that perhaps could be discussed further or explored, and that would be my best suggestion to you, is that you arrange a time to meet with Director Can and perhaps perhaps have that conversation at a more detailed level to understand if there are any ways to work together in a different way going forward. Would that be appropriate, Director Can? And she's definitely nodding if you can't see Amy. So I think that would be a good next step. Were there any questions for council while we have Mr. Singh with us? Then seeing none, Suresh, I will say thank you very much again for speaking with us, and do arrange that time to meet with Director Can, and we'll look forward to hearing an update from that session.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
And we have no other delegations today, but we do have a public question from Emily Fonberg. Emily, would you please go to the podium, and Margaret will help you with the microphone.
Hi. So I would say, hi, I'm Emily. I own Lovebird in downtown Meaford. So it's not so much a question as it is just sort of a statement about the patio program. I know it's a contentious issue, and I really do thank you for your time to letting me speak about it a little bit. So Mayor and council members, again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Some may look at Meaford's patios and see a few tables and chairs on the side of the road, but I see a public space being transformed into a place where community happens. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge an important concern that has been raised throughout this discussion, which is accessible parking when the patios are street side. I completely understand the importance of ensuring that residents and visitors who rely on accessible parking can continue to access our downtown safely and conveniently. There should not be a choice between accessibility and vibrancy in the downtown area. We can and should achieve both. As council considers the future of the patio program, I believe there is an opportunity to develop a more permanent solution that supports street side patios while ensuring adequate accessible parking for those who need it. Many of Meaford's small independent businesses simply cannot absorb costs approaching $10,000 to participate in programs that help animate our downtown. Fees at that level risk creating financial barriers for the very businesses that contribute to Meaford's character, culture, and visitor appeal. Patios are more than amenities for the restaurants. They're an economic development tool, and the economic benefits of patios are not speculative. Communities of all sizes, from major cities to towns comparable to Meaford, have consistently seen positive economic impacts from outdoor patio programs, including increased customer traffic, higher business revenues, and more vibrant downtowns. Studies all over North America prove this. The question before us is not whether patios benefit businesses. They do. The question is whether patios benefit Meaford, and I would argue that they absolutely do. Every visitor who spends an afternoon on a patio contributes to our local economy. They dine in our restaurants, shop in our stores, visit our attractions, and share their experiences here in Meaford with others. Those benefits extend well beyond the businesses operating the patios themselves. This is particularly important in a community like Meaford, where many businesses depend on a short tourism season to offset the challenges of a long winter. Patios help businesses maximize that opportunity while creating a more welcoming and active downtown for residents and visitors alike. That's why I believe the patio program should be viewed as an investment rather than cost recovery. When a municipality seeks to recover significant costs from individual businesses, it risks discouraging the very activity the program is intended to promote. The return on that investment is not measured solely in recovering costs. It's measured in increased foot traffic, which means stronger local businesses, more jobs, and greater tourism activities, which ultimately strengthens the municipality's tax base. If we want a thriving, accessible, and vibrant downtown, we need policies that encourage participation rather than create roadblocks for the small business community. I respectfully ask council to consider for the future whether the patio program is best served by recovering costs from individual businesses or by recognizing it as a community building initiative worthy of municipal support. Because when downtown succeeds, all of Meaford succeeds. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Emily, for speaking with council today. And I think you raised a good point that perhaps through the experience this year of the restaurants who are participating in the patio program, I think we should do a postmortem of how things work out this summer and have a conversation. I would suggest to the next council to have a discussion about this and to have, a second sober look at the patio program going forward and make a determination if they wish to continue as is or to make changes next year. So I thank you for bringing this to our attention today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We will move on to council inquiries. Does any member of council have an inquiry for staff today? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor and Acting Chair. I do have three, but I'll only ask one at a time. That'll give my fellow councillors an opportunity if they've got a question. My first question is to deal with during our budget period, the mayor in his first presentation for the mayor's budget, I brought forward a motion which was approved unanimously by my fellow councillors that we would spend $250,000 and we would put that money to work doing road work or ditch work or something out in a community that was badly needed. And at this time, I haven't heard anything or seen anything that a contract might be awarded or just where that's at. So I hope that it hasn't been set aside. And if I could get an answer this afternoon on that motion of council to spend the $250,000 out of the roads reserve, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Please go ahead, Tori.
Through your worship, thank you. We have been working on the tender documents for that work, however, have put it on pause, recognizing that some of the funds might be utilized for some work on Bayshore Road with some drainage issues there. And so we have been working through that before we move forward with the additional work to make sure that we have enough funds for both. And so we'll be moving forward with it shortly.
Okay, are there other inquiries from council before Councillor Bell continues? Councillor Urick, and then we'll come back to you, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I do have a question. It's going to be Director Carbert. But just before I do that, I am going to just say, Emily, thank you for your statement. I really appreciate that. And I agree with you 100%. I think the patios have value. I'm sorry that it's kind of fell where it did this year. Thought we were already going to talk about having the businesses having the opportunity to purchase the barriers themselves, which would mitigate some of that cost. So hopefully, yes, as the Deputy Mayor said, that hopefully we can move forward to a more permanent solution that will put a solution in place that will benefit obviously the municipality as well as the owners. So thank you for that. Brady. Just a quick question. Thank you for bringing up the splash pad. Really excited that that's moving forward. Really looking forward to that. My question is, and I don't, we've probably discussed this and I went back and looked at all the plans as well. I couldn't find on there, are there going to be cameras there? We have many reports about it's such a great facility for the kids in the day. Unfortunately, it also becomes a facility for kids at night that maybe aren't as respectful and aren't maybe doing things that the public would prefer them to be doing in that location. Are there going to be cameras there? And if not, should we be looking into that? Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Urick, through you, Your Worship. There are two cameras on the McCarroll Park washroom. One faces kind of street view and the other one faces out towards the back, towards the new playground area. I believe the one on the playground area has recently been installed and signage has been put in place for both of those cameras, alerting the public that there are cameras on site.
Thank you, Director Carbert. And back to you, Councillor Bell. Did you have another question?
No, thank you again. My next question comes, I think, for Mr. Kelbert. The Red Rapier Park and the gazebo. People have been mentioning about the disrepair of the roof. I know, Madam Deputy Mayor, you got some comments before budget on that. And it's a central location. People do see it. My question is, Is there something in the works technically to get the roof repaired on the gazebo at Fred Rapier Park?
Director Carpenter?
To Councillor Bell, through you, your worship. Yes, the Fred Raper Park gazebo roof replacement was included in the 2026 capital budget. We have pushed that project back for construction to start in the fall so that we don't disrupt kind of the nice warm season where it's actively used. So the RFQ, I think, would be going out in the next 2 to 3 weeks with work to be completed in late September or early October.
Thank you for that, Brady. And any further questions from council? Councillor Bell, you have a third question.
Thanks again, Madam Deputy Mayor. My next question also is to Mr. Colbert. The harbor dredging was important to us last year. It's important to us this year. Do we have the permits in place that this year the harbor will be dredged as we are all anticipating? And hopefully your answer is yes.
Director Carpenter?
To Councillor Bell, through your worship. Unfortunately, at this point, my answer is no. We have the bathymetric study. We have overlaid that depth and matched it to the water depths that we're currently experiencing. The good news is that the water is continuing to stay higher than last year or that we are anticipating. So we're finding we're actually in a little bit better shape right now. So what we have been working on with the consultant is determining the volumes and the potential cost estimates for the scope of work to remove it down to a specific height. So kind of removing about 2 meters worth of material or down to 3 meters worth of material. And once we figure out those costs and those volumes, that will dictate how we're going to proceed through purchasing and the necessary approvals. So that's the big step. And we're actually out towards the chain, or out towards the where we go into Georgian Bay. We're in good shape there, and we're really at this point only experiencing some undesirable depths, particularly around the gas pump and over across to our river dock. So those will be priority areas regardless, but we're going to determine how deep we want to dig that out. Based on the cost estimates, we probably will not get to some of those areas kind of between Nelson Street and Trowbridge Street. I know that's kind of where you see the material, but it's not significantly impacting harbor operations at this point.
Okay. Any follow-up, Councillor Bell? Are you okay? It is what it is. I know. I'm glad you asked the question. Councillor Urick, a second question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Pick on Brady Day. So just one more. You did send around email. It was unfortunate that we were unable to open the Blue Dolphin pool due to some maintenance issues. I know you did say in there that you were hoping that that was going to be kind of transpiring for this week. Just wondering if you can give an update where we are on the Blue Dolphin pool, please. Thank you.
Director Carpenter?
Thank you to Councillor through your worship. I've just got an email as recently as half an hour ago. It is not a good news email at this point. The boiler system that heats the pool has broken over the winter months. The like for like replacement is estimated at 12 weeks. So we are working with the heating contractor to look at alternative solutions, including having 2 smaller units that might help with redundancy into the future. But as of right now, they have not gotten back with cost estimates or time estimates for that. We have been working with the YMCA to communicate this to them. It doesn't impact the opening of the pool or the inspections, but unfortunately, it does impact the pool temperature, and they are the pool operator, so they designate which temperatures they will allow patrons to use. And unfortunately, the water is too cold for them to allow patrons into the pool right now.
I appreciate your response, Director Carpenter, and could you please keep council updated as you receive further information about those repairs? Did I see your hand up, Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Keaveney, and no, this question is not for Mr. Carpenter. He doesn't have any good news for us anyway. So, actually, I had sent this question to our CAO the end of last week, and I knew Mr. Everett wasn't going to be here today. I thought perhaps Mr. Dinsmore would be here. But anyway, I think everyone knows that the drilling rig is scheduled to return to Georgian Bay in the very near future. I understand it's being assembled over Old Sound right now. This will be the second year for drilling tests by TC in Georgian Bay. Last year, I was told that the tests that were done last summer were sent away every week to a lab in Barrie for to be examined and registered what was being found, and I'm assuming that's going to happen again this year. Now, I thought perhaps those test results from last year would be made public. As far as I'm aware, they haven't been made public yet. Perhaps the intention was to keep them private until all the testing was done, and that seems reasonable. But I'm just wondering if indeed they were made public or could be made public. I think it would make, for some people, some very interesting reading on just what was found below the surface of Georgian Bay last year. And I'm just wondering how we've gone through the IAC submissions. We're into the environmental assessment now, and to me, it's things like these underwater testing that are going to have a factor on the results for all this procedure. And I'm really wondering if somewhere along the line these results could be made public for our citizens to take a look at. What have they found? Other than 60 to 70 feet of sediment under the water surface, what else are they finding there? I don't, if it's top secret, if it's confidential, then I can understand it not being displayed. But I really hope that perhaps our CAO will come back from Toronto with some explanations. Our residents are involved in this. We're not partners in the pump storage project, but we're certainly concerned about it. And I really think that it's time we got more information about just what is going on out there. So I'm hoping that will come forward. If anybody on staff has any information, I'd appreciate hearing it. But if not, I hope in the very near future our CAO can supply us with some of the findings.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. And I don't see any member of staff. Amy, would you like to speak to that?
I was just going to confirm, Your Worship, we're happy to let the CAO know that this question was posed so that he can prepare a response to come back to you on that.
Thank you very much. Any further council inquiries? I just had a couple, and of course I have to have one for Director Carbert too. We're thrilled that the splash pad opening is happening on June the 20th, but we also talked about traffic calming measures in relation to that on Bayfield Street. So I understand that they will be in place for the 20th, and I just wondered if you could tell us what they may look like.
Through Your
Sorry?
Worship, I'm happy to provide an update on that. We have had some recent analysis of options in that location. We are still sorting out a couple of items with regards to the impacts of different types of traffic calming. And so as of right now, we do not see see that they will be in when the splash pad opens, but we will be working to get them in as soon as we can. We just want to make sure that there aren't any impacts to the businesses, especially with a lot of boats traveling down the road. And so we're just trying to determine what is best to ensure safety in that location.
Thank you very much. And once you've made that determination, could you share that with council? Thank you. And second question, I see our manager of communications in the back corner. Holly, I'm wondering if you could provide council with a little bit of an update on the website now that we're into June. How are things coming along?
Perfect. And thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to provide a website update. You may not have seen me over the past couple of months as I've been taking this time back to work with our project manager and with our consultant on the website. I'm happy to report that we do have a launch date in less than 6 weeks now. So I will have a communications plan to support that, but I want to make sure that our staff goes through another key milestone over the next couple of weeks, which is our user testing. So we'll be undertaking that activity across a variety of different departments to ensure that we have everything worked out, that things are functioning the way that we hope for them to. And I can say with confidence that by the end of July, we certainly will have a new website up and launched for the community to experience.
And that is good news. Thank you for that, Holly. If we understood correctly, I believe our existing website expires the end of June. Do we have the ability to continue with that into July until the new one is ready?
Yeah, so thank you, Your Worship. In order to support the transition, we did get a couple of weeks leeway, but we do not have the opportunity past the date that we've negotiated to extend the website any further.
Thank you. So we will look forward to that in July.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Okay, so we will move forward now into motions and bylaws for decision. 9.1A, CAO 2026-13, consideration of negotiations with the Ontario Provincial Police for a new detachment facility. The recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to enter formal discussions and negotiations with the OPP for the potential development of a new Ontario Provincial Police detachment that would be located at the recently purchased Highway 26 commercial property as detailed in report CAO 2026-13. Could I have a mover, please, to put that on the table? Councillor Urick and a seconder, Councillor Bell. We did have considerable discussion on this report at our last meeting, but there wasn't a consent agenda today because there was just this one item to carry over. So is there any further question or comment? Yes, please go ahead, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So the people who talked to me after the last council meeting said in part, so council is spending $20 million for a new OPP station. And I said, we are not, because we are into negotiations. We are looking at possibilities. We are seeing what they need exactly. And they are going to tell us what they need, and we're going to answer them as best as we can. And the figure of 20 million, is it less? Is it more? We don't know. And so what this is doing, when council gives permission to do this, is to enter into some conversations with the OPP to find out the nuts and bolts of whether this site out on Highway 26 will meet their needs. And if so, then it'll come back to council in the future, and then we will know the true numbers, and then we'll have that conversation about a new OPP station. So there was a little bit of I hope other council members seen that through different sources where we said, go ahead and build this, and that's not what this is about at all. So I just wanted to say that, Madam Deputy Mayor.
And thank you for adding that clarity, Councillor Bell, and we will look forward to gaining an understanding of Infrastructure Ontario and what their commitment to this project will be so that then council can determine if we wish to go forward with the new OPP detachment. Any further questions from council? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Item B, CAO 2026-14, land purchase request, 76 Edwin Street. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the purchase of land identified as 76 Edwin Street at a purchase price of $600,000. Approve the land acquisition and transfer of ownership into the municipality's land inventory, including all legal costs, taxes, and land transfer costs. Authorize the mayor and clerk to execute all required documents to acquire said lands identified as 76 Edwin Street in the municipality of Meaford. Establish a capital budget of $130,000 for required upgrades to the facility and property as outlined in the body of the report. And that unfinanced be used for the funding of the purchase and the required capital costs, and that a future report be brought to council outlining funding recommendations. May I have a mover to put that on the table, please? Councillor Forder and Councillor Greenfield as seconder, and discussion on this matter. Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor King. Just a comment, and I believe I said this during our closed session when this came forward to us, that this property is only one block away from St. Vincent Street. And St. Vincent Street is already becoming a very busy street in our downtown area. It leads to the harbor, it leads up to a very busy school. In the future, it could become a much busier street with a proposed hotel, the Skydev development, a new JK to grade 3 school being proposed, perhaps a college at the former school. We've got Memorial Park, we've got future expansion at the wastewater treatment plant down on at the end of Aiken Street. This location for being owned by the municipality, I think is an ideal site. There's going to have to be more servicing down in that area, and this property came up for sale. There's a decent little building on it right now. I understand it may need some adjustments made to it, but I think if we're looking down the road 10, 15, 20 years, this property is going to come in very handy for our downtown area. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Greenfield, and recognizing that sidewalk plows will be stored in this new building and the proximity to the school, as you suggest, and I think that will come in very handy, and they'll be right there too for the grooming of the trail. Any other comments, Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So in the motion, it says to establish a capital budget of $130,000. I believe that this council is going to vote unanimously to get this property. So the 130,000, I read in there that there's going to be fencing that would be required, which makes sense for the protection of capital equipment and the facility itself. What about the timeline? What does that actually mean? If council says to purchase a property and then our staff start looking at moving in, doing things, that $130,000, or do we have money for fencing right now? Because I would think we would need fencing right now if we buy the property.
Director Garbert?
To Councillor Bell, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The fencing's not like an urgent item before we necessarily move in. Our current site does not have fencing around it, but to set it up as the ideal operations yard, and especially, sorry, near a yard that we don't necessarily have eyes on like we do at our current yard, like next to the arena. It's something that we would move on relatively quickly in order just to set this up and get established in that area. Likewise with the office furniture and stuff like that. Currently, key divisional staff don't have a desk to go to at the end of the day, and 5 or 6 of them share one computer and try to do all of their work on that. So this would also be a priority in moving into the space. The funding for it would be included right now, and as identified in the recommendation, the report on how this will be funded in the long term would come before the year end or as part of the year end process. What we are hoping to do as staff is to take money from different reserves in order to fund this, rather than allocating all of the costs to one reserve or to one funding source. As the deputy mayor identified, the sidewalk machines, it's anticipated that they would actually be located at the Collingwood Street shop, but the intent would maybe to be use some of the roads reserved for them to effectively buy that space from the Parks Reserve to fund this. Likewise, the equipment that we have in parks also services the harbor, Memorial Park, the cemetery. We would look to those reserves to fund this, so that not one source is paying the full bill for this building, recognizing that community services spreads across a lot of different costing centers.
Thank you for that, Director Carbert. That explains the unfinanced term, which we're not accustomed to seeing in reports. Any further comments? Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Jeez. Force of habit. Wow. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll go back to Director Carbert. And I'm hoping clerk will give me latitude because it's adjacent. It's not directly. In the motion, it does say that this is going to house the equipment that's going to do the winter grooming of the Georgian Trail now that we finally have put that in place. Do we actually have equipment that is properly assigned or that we can use to do the trail right now? Or are we going to have to purchase that as well? I'm just curious because I know we have much equipment that does, but I just don't know if it requires special equipment for that. So, and I presume it would be housed here. Thank you.
Director Carbert.
To Councillor Urick, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, we haven't finalized the piece of equipment that will pull the grooming machine. We are looking at internal fleet equipment as the first step as part of this, and believe that we do have a solution. The actual groomer unit will need to be purchased, and we will be commencing that purchase later on this week or early next week to make sure that the equipment is here for this winter season.
Thank you. And I do recall we approved that in the 2026 budget, so we're looking forward to that. Further questions on this report? Then I will ask for an all in favor. Thank you. And next report, DEV 2026-12 Phase 3 Red Line Revision to Draft Plan of Subdivision 42T-2020-06 Loon Call Subdivision. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford support the request for a red line revision to draft plan approval to the County of Grey, subject to the conditions outlined in report DEV 2026-12. And so we did hear a deputation from the owner of this project, Suresh Singh, which was very helpful in preparing us for this discussion. May I have a mover to put this on the floor, please? Councillor Urick and a seconder, Councillor Ennis. And discussion on this matter? Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
You got it.
Good. Okay, there you go. On page 21, it does say that this results in the density of 24.5 units per hectare, which obviously is close to the 25. I would not balk at that at all, obviously. I'm just curious because on page 27 in the actual letter that was presented by Travis Consultants, they actually said it was 21. And I'm just wondering why the discrepancy between their letter saying it was 21 and our final assessment that it was going to be 24.5.
Director Can.
Thank you, Councillor Urick, and through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. That's a great question, and our apologies. The planner, Helena Fastinato, is ill today, so she wasn't able to be with us, and Manager McCarl had a conflict, so she wasn't able to attend as well. So I'll do my best. Through the processing of this application, there was a bit of a moving target, and we worked closely with the applicant and the county to sort of refine those numbers. So I think that that's really the simple reason for the discrepancy. Where we landed finally was, as per the report, that 24 units per hectare, which in our estimation is, meets the general intent and purpose of the minimum 25 units set out by the county official plan. So just a bit of nuance as we process the application. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any further questions on this report? I would just ask you, Director Can, I mean, Mr. Singh suggested that it could be August by the time this process made its way through the County of Grey. Would that be sort of your timeline estimation, or do you see this happening any sooner?
That's a good question, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you. As I said, we have been working closely with Scott Taylor at the county to review the proposal and to get the proposed draft plan conditions just right. I don't know that it will take that long. Certainly, when subdivision comes into its draft plan approval phase, the Planning Act does permit sales. I'm sorry, I can't give an exact estimate of it, but the county is certainly aware that the developer is looking to this final approval stage.
And that's good news. Any further comments on this report? Then I will ask for an all in favor. And that is unanimous. Thank you. The next report, INF 2026-08. It's an award report, professional services for St. Vincent Street reconstruction. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, approve the award of proposal RFP-INF-2026-01, reconstruction of St. Vincent Street to Tatham Engineering Limited for $371,424, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. May I have a mover, please, to put this on the table? Councillor Forder, and a seconder, Councillor Greenfield. And discussion on this item? All good? Okay. No questions around the table? Then I will ask for an all in favor of this report. Thank you. And next we have INF 2026-09. This is an award report. The additional tractor with plan and plan and attachments and unit 580-14 replacement. Should that say plow? No, plan is correct. I'm sorry. Award report, additional tractor with plan and attachments. Okay. And unit 580-14 replacement. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the purchase of 2 Kubota M8-201 KVT tractors with plow attachments for $792,455.77, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and 2, authorize staff to proceed with the procurement through canoe procurement in accordance with the municipality's purchasing policy. And that would be it. So may I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bell, please, and a seconder, Councillor Ennis. And any discussion on the purchase of the tractors? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So, folks who are watching our budget, the process that we went through, I had lots of conversation about looking at these tractors and the horsepower requirements and so on. I think that what we can say here is that we're getting 2 really good pieces of kit. That for the money that we're spending on here, with the attachments that they're getting, and where the finances are coming from, in the report it said that we're getting money from the DC charges, and we're getting money from the winter reserves to pay for them. And the procurement that went through and the process that went through, there are upgrades to the tractors. I looked up some of the specifications, and one of them was that they have a front PTO drive to put some equipment on the front. And so that's good. It gives it some versatility. And with my conversations before the budget, what I was clearly told by the director back at that time was that the staff, with the maneuverability of what can happen with these pieces of kit, that this is the way that they wish to go. And we can see that the award is now up for being approved and to a local company. And I think that's outstanding that they're Kubota tractors, and we know that there's a Kubota dealer here. And we have often had conversations about supporting businesses locally. And this is truly great. They got tremendous parts. If they need parts, the parts supply from Kubota Canada is outstanding. So I'm really happy to move this one, and I hope my fellow councillors vote affirmative for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell, and that is a good news story when we can support a local business to the tune of nearly $800,000. Any further comment on this report? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. And next we have INF 2026-10, Award Report, Low Class Bituminous, LCB, and Microservice Resurfacing. The recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the cancellation of planned microsurfacing on Sykes Street as part of the Sykes Street Resurfacing Project, TS 2026-07, and not proceeding with LCB and microsurface provisional work in tender ITT-TS-2026-04. And 2, approve the award of tender ITT-TS-2026-04 LCB and microsurface resurfacing to Duncor Enterprises, Inc. for $869,195, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover, please, to put this on the table. Councillor Greenfield, and a seconder, Councillor Forder. And discussion on this report? Everybody's understanding. I know the first clause was a little confusing, approve the cancellation of planned microservicing on Sykes Street, but we won't get excited about that because we'll hear in another report that we're okay in terms of Sykes Street. So, Councillor Bell?
Well, thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. Before you call the question on the expenditure of this amount of money, a little bit of background then on the Sykes Street itself and what we were going to do. And the report says that they're not proceeding at this time, but we're spending some money, that we're doing some other things to make this still happen for rideability. Can a little bit of background on $869,000 that we're going to spend.
Director Perry Maybe-Daw.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just to confirm, do you want just a bit of a highlight of the actual work happening throughout other roads except for Sykes Street? Okay. So the LCB and micro resurfacing are 2 slightly different processes. One of them is done on our surface treated roads, while the other is on our asphalt roads. But essentially what it is, it's a very thin layer that goes on top of the existing surface. It helps to prolong the life of the existing surface by both helping cap it, so not allowing water to penetrate in it, but also helps make it flexible again by adding some asphalt content back into the road. And it's something that's done when the roads are still in decent condition to help prolong that life that we see at a lower cost, so that over the span of, or the whole lifespan of that road, we're able to get it for a more cost-effective approach. And so what the residents will see is essentially the road will go from looking in okay condition to getting a new top to it. So it will be black again, but it really allows that road to have that longer lifespan so that we can spend our money more effectively in the long run.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Is this the same process that I witnessed on the second concession about 2 years ago, where they went down and it basically looked like a liquid that was put on, and then it had granulars in it that went into the cracks and it filled it, but it was one maneuver one time and it went everywhere to seal everything. Is that the same process?
Tori?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, it does sound like that is what you would have seen. We have done this for a number of years now, on and off. So the good thing about it too is it is quite cost effective, so we can get to a number of roads. And so as you can see in the report, there is a number of roads that we will be putting micro and LCB on this year.
Any further questions from council? No, so if I may ask you, Director Perry, maybe Dar, are we still working on the premise of keeping the good roads good as was recommended in our SOTA report back in 2015? I believe we saw that report.
Thank you for the question, Madam Deputy Mayor. We are currently in somewhat of a hybrid approach. So we are focusing on some years working on this type of work that is keeping roads that are in good condition and prolonging that timeline that they are in that good condition. And then in other years, we are focusing on rehabilitation and replacement of our roadways. And by prioritizing the same type of work in a given year, we're seeing better costing instead of trying to do little bits of each thing. Each year, we're able to put together these larger contracts and get more work done. Last year, we did some rehabilitation of 2 road sections. And so working on some of our roads that are in more poor condition. We will continue to work to understand what the best approach is as we work with our finance team with asset management. As we continue to develop our asset management plan to figure out if there's slightly different ways that we can utilize our money to go a little bit further. But since 2023, we brought forward a report to council with some information on how we're trying to prioritize the funds we have right now that strays a bit from that keep the good roads good, and does provide some focus on some of our roads in poorer condition, but also while trying to invest in our roads to keep them in as good a condition as long as we can.
Thank you for that, Tori. And just one further question. So recognizing that the SOTIs, the State of the Infrastructure reports, are more than 10 years old now for roads and bridges, at some point, do we need to update those?
Thank you for that question, Deputy Mayor. While the SOTIs have some unique information in them, they very much transfer well into the asset management process. And so while there might be some one-off or engineering advice or information that we might need to get at times that mimic some of the information in those SOTIs, the purpose of them was really to prepare us for proper asset management planning. And so as we really dive into that as a municipality and continue to build our knowledge of our own assets, it really replaces the need for the SOTI. The type of information that we might look to exterior consultants for is understanding new types of resurfacing or rehabilitation that we can do, maybe different triggers that we can put in place to when we do certain types of work. So it's really getting more of that industry standards that might be changing over time and getting some input on that. But otherwise, we will be continuing to collect information on our assets and build our own internal knowledge through the asset management planning process.
Thank you very much for that. Any further questions for Tori on this report? And seeing none, all in favor, please. Thank you very much. Then we will now move into Committee of the Whole at 2:12. The recommendation be it resolved, the Council of the Municipality hereby go into Committee of the Whole. May I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Porter and Councillor Urick. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. The first report, Community Services, COM 2026-04, placement of Bruce Shepherd Marine Artifacts. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report COM 2026-04, placement of Bruce Shepherd Marine Artifacts for information purposes. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bell and Councillor Greenfield. And discussion on this matter. Councillor Bell, you like it?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just because I'm the first one to talk on that doesn't mean that I'm first. I'm sure all my fellow councillors are as excited about this as I am. This is fantastic. We have this collection, and then in the report, it was the Reef Boat Club that put some time and effort and energy into these artifacts. And they have sourced out different locations that they're just great locations, super objects for people to come. What an enhancement to the harbor. What a different view it's going to be for people who take a stroll. So I raised my hand first, but I'm sure others want to say something because this is more than just this is good news. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Councillor Bell. It is probably the best news of the day. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I totally agree. I'm very, very excited and happy this is happening. And of course, you always have to look at the flip side of things and just say, okay. So we're going to be doing the harbor and downtown master plan. That's going to come into vote later, which is going to have kind of an overall look of long-term servicing of the harbor and the downtown and how to make them all kind of more attractive, more accessible, et cetera. How did we determine where it was going to go? This is probably like a three-part question. I apologize. How did we determine where they were going to go? One, what are we going to do from security aspect? We know also already that one piece of that equipment was stolen. How do we going to ascertain that? Because if we're going to kind of, are these the permanent homes for these? If we are, then we're going to have to probably cement some of them in, which case if we're going to move it afterwards is going to be costly. So how did we determine that? And the third part of that is, so we're going to take this leap in doing this before doing the harbor master plan. Why didn't we decide to put the mosaic sign up somewhere as well? Because I think we're just trying to do everything we can to bring people down to the harbor. That mosaic plan, sign was actually, didn't cost us anything. It was donated to us. And it is something that would, again, just beautify the harbor. So I'm just wondering kind of that procession of thought process, how did we get there?
Director Herbert.
Thank you to Councillor Urick, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The locations were selected in consultation with the Reef Boat Club and harbor staff, recognizing that the master plan was something that was going to be started this year. So there had been calls in the community to maybe create a dedicated space. Previous versions of master plans in that area also talked about creating a dedicated space, but we felt that was not appropriate at this time. The locations are leveraging basically existing assets in the garden that's next to the harbor house or next to the West Fort boat, and then the existing viewing platform on the break wall. So it's not anticipated through the master plan process that there would be significant changes to those areas without a lot of public consultation, and then a plan to obviously either remediate, remove, replace those areas. With respect to the mosaic, we are just kind of working on making sure we have an appropriate location. We don't want to move the sign one more time and put the stress on it there. And we felt as staff that we don't necessarily have kind of a clear spot that maybe would be fully embraced by harbor users and everybody in that area quite at this time. Yes, and thank you. The security, there are security cameras on these areas down at the marina.
Yes, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Appreciate that. And through you, the report mentions, of course, that some of the artifacts are going to be displayed. So what is the long-term plan with the remaining artifacts that don't have a permanent home? Maybe you could just walk us through what we plan to do with the rest of the artifacts. Thank you.
Director Herbert.
To Councillor Forder, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, we haven't come up with a concrete plan with respect to those. The items that have been restored by Reef Boat Club are those items that they felt could be reasonably restored and had kind of marine kind of value. The other ones that are something that we need to look at, they're currently stored securely here at the municipality. And we'll come up with a plan to either look to put those into a future marine museum or dispose of those in the future. And that we would definitely communicate to council on something like that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and through you once again, it's Brady. With regards to accessibility and things like educational signage, maybe you could also walk us through what the plan is for that in terms of for the items that are being installed.
Yes, to Councillor Forder, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. These items are all in areas with existing walkways. Whether it's the lookout at the end of the pier, in front of the harbor house, or the West Fort, there are paths. There are some challenges between the kind of parking areas in these locations, but they are all areas that are existing and utilized already.
Any further questions? Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Through you to Mr. Carver. I think this is great. This is just going to be a super display at our harbor. But I didn't see anything in the report about an acknowledgement, an identification, a thank you to Captain Bruce Shepherd and a little bit of history and background of that incredible man. And I really think that needs to be part of this parcel. And so I'm hoping something can be developed, fairly abbreviated, but some commemoration of Bruce. I remember Captain Shepherd in particular, not from his seagoing days, but of the work he did at the Meaford Museum. For a few years there, if it hadn't been for Captain Bruce, the Meaford Museum would have not existed. And this is a man who our town, our municipality owes a lot of thanks to, and I'm hoping something can be worked in with this display to commemorate Bruce as well as his artifacts.
Back to you, Brady. You really are on the hot seat today.
To Councillor Greenfield, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yes, I believe the plaques were going to have a recognition of the Shepherd family. However, I'm happy to work with the manager of cemeteries, harbors, and Memorial Park and our museum staff to maybe find a little bit more of an enhanced sign that we could put with this. I think somewhere either between the museum property or around the West Fort, recognizing Mr. Shepherd's work and bringing that boat to the area and some of the artifacts that have been previously displayed there. Those are two areas that I think I could find something well within the operating budget that's been identified in this report.
Sounds like a great opportunity for a tidbit. Yes. Were you thinking the same thing, Councillor Urick? Yes. 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 So we'll add that to the list. Okay, anything further? Then I will ask for an all in favor for this report. And thank you very much. Development Services, DEV 2026-13- Urban Area Meaford Growth Management Update. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report DEV 2026-13 respecting the Urban Area Meaford Growth Management Update for information purposes. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Porter and Councillor Urick. And this is a very important and extensive report. So I'm going to ask Director Can if she would like to introduce it for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe not as exciting a content as marine artifacts, but nevertheless, good afternoon, everyone. We are officially halfway through 2026. If you can believe it, I can't. So on that note, we thought that it would be well timed to bring you a bit of an update on some of the projects that we're working on behind the scenes. There are a number of projects that development and infrastructure staff, together with Director Meaford's team, have been working on in the background that are related to growth management. And this relates specifically in this context to urban Meaford. So the part that's within our settlement boundaries and is generally serviced by water, wastewater. Through this work, though this work, has no direct significant budget implication, the work will have a material impact on a number of related projects and on how we accommodate new housing and industry in urban Meaford. We're working on building a growth management analysis tool together with GIS staff, which is very exciting. And this tool will allow us to concretely analyze the location and staging of new development relative to our infrastructure needs. So figuring out where development, both infill and new greenfield development will go and where our linear infrastructure needs to go to match that. The tool will use real data as well as forecast growth data. So understanding where our current developments are today, where Planning Act applications are placing them, hopefully in the near future, and where we can forecast growth going in the more remote future. For those of us that are new to this conversation, including myself, including newer counselors, this report was intended to provide a bit of a refresher on the in-force policy and background data that deals with growth in urban Meaford and across the county and the province. Crafting this report was really helpful for myself in getting up to speed on the policy context, again, here in urban Meaford, and getting back to the basics on the matters of provincial interest. And that come into play when we talk about managing growth. The treatment capacity and lifespan of our current wastewater treatment facility is top of mind for all of us, not just Tori. Especially when we think about growth in urban Meaford. Our growth management work will inform the engineering analysis for the water and wastewater master plan update, which many of you will recall was an approved budget item in 2026. So this master plan update will reveal the servicing path, cost implications, and timeline for an upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant and for extension or upsizing of linear infrastructure in our growth areas. So again, figuring out those pipes in the ground that need to lead to new development. As part of this growth management work, we're also formulating a comprehensive infrastructure bylaw that we hope will regulate streets, water, wastewater, grading and drainage, and servicing capacity and allocation. As growth pressure mounts, we need to ensure we track and allocate our wastewater treatment capacity in particular to ensure the protection of our wastewater system, its users, and of course the natural environment. So those are kind of the key themes that we've brought forward to you in this report. Again, the work we're doing for growth management together with our GIS we hope will be a real basis, not only for this work we've referenced right now, but also for years to come, so that we and our predecessors can understand how and when Meaford will grow and develop, and exactly what that looks like. So that helps us as the technical experts to plan it, helps the public understand it and how it might impact their neighborhood, and help decision makers understand the implications of those really long-term decisions that we're making. So our growth forecasting relative to the county official plan and our own official plan at this point is to 2051. So no short-term planning here. So really significant implications that we're bringing forward to you. So again, just a bit of a refresher on where we've been and where we hope to go based on that growth management analysis tool. I am happy to answer questions. Director Perry maybe as well, I'm sure, is happy to help. So we're in your hands.
Thank you very much for that, Director Can. That gives us a really good oversight of what we're discussing here this afternoon. And first question, Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and through you. Just a couple observations and a question. I really do like the emphasis on protecting agricultural lands. I also do really like the intensification first approach. So my question is, with the target of 60 units per hectare density, how does that compare to other municipalities in the county and their targets? Maybe you could just shed a little bit of light on that for us, please.
Thank you, Councillor Forder, and through you, Madam Chair. Again, I'm new to this conversation, so I did watch back those previous discussions that were had at the previous council tables and reading through the policies. So it's my understanding again that the county official plan does set out a 25 unit per hectare density target, overall. It certainly would be within and clearly has been demonstrated here in Meaford that in a case by case basis area, or on an as needs basis, that minimum density is exceeded. And so I do believe, looking back on that OPA 34 approval, that the intent was to, particularly in the secondary plan areas and special policy areas, that we take an opportunity where we can to really boost the density and sort of neighborhood feel of those areas. So again, just watching back and trying to understand that previous approval, that's my sense. So it does exceed the minimum, but that I think is by design.
Thank you. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I applaud the report as well. I think this is really valuable. And I think it's great work because you're right. We need to be looking at the 25, 50-year plan, not next year. And this takes all that into account. It mentions the OP, it mentions the wastewater plan, it mentions the county kind of relationship. What I always find interesting in this, so on page 76, financial impact, and the very first sentence literally says, decisions respecting growth management for urban Meaford are long-term in nature and have permanent impacts on the overall economic position of the municipality. So it always confuses me a little bit why an economic development plan is not mentioned in there as well. And I know I'm a dog in a bone with this, but we were just at the ECDEV forum a week ago. It was excellent. Mayor Stratford there, and he stresses time and time again, the long-term economic planning is paramount with an ECDEV plan, and so does the county. So I would just say that's the only thing I would not complain about, but mention that that's not mentioned in here as part and parcel of that. And I really think it needs to be part and parcel of it, if not the entirety of it, because this will impact. And the ECDEV plan, this is the urban core, and I get that. The ECDEV plan needs to be the whole municipality. It needs to be rural and urban, but we've got to have that economic development strategy as a massive part of this whole process. So that's just my 2 cents.
Director Ken.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to Councillor Urick. I am glad that you brought up the speaking notes at the Warden's Economic Development Forum on Friday. Mr. Dan Matheson spoke, and he did speak really to the contents of this report about local alignment with provincial priorities and protecting our agricultural land. To Councillor Forder's point, on the basis of putting development where it belongs. And so following up on your comment relative to the ECDEV strat plan, which we are slated to redo next year, and we're excited about that. To me, wise use of resources and smart growth very much is economic development. And so our ECDEV strat plan will be required to be consistent and conform with our official plan. And so to your point, they are one and the same, absolutely. So we will use the ECDEV strat plan as an opportunity to really narrow in on those growth points and to really make that point. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any further questions? I would just ask, if I may, do we have any sense of the timing for the water wastewater master plan report, Tori?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Unfortunately, the timing of it has gotten pushed back a little bit further than we were hoping to, mainly because there is a vacancy of our manager of environmental services. And so we are hoping to be successful with the recruitment of that position before we move forward with the master plan, to ensure that we can get that guidance and assistance through the process. And so we hopefully will be in a more positive spot within the next month or so. And then we will look forward to moving forward with that process and having that person on board to be involved and obviously very instrumental in the development of that report.
Thank you very much for that. And again, I very much appreciate this report. I mean, it's not very long ago at the county that we saw the Hempson update. I'm sorry. Sorry. And we recognize that Meaford is slated for what is termed as moderate growth. And so with this report in place, it really helps us to understand that what all of those predictions mean. So all in favor? Excuse me. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, one more time. Okay. Infrastructure and Public Works. INF 2026-11 Award Report 2026 High Class Bituminous Resurfacing. The recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve 1, the change in scope for capital project Sykes Street resurfacing, TS 2026-07, as described in this report. 2, the award of tender ITT-TS-2026-06 2026 high-class bituminous resurfacing to EC King Contracting for $366,558, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. 3, staff negotiating the addition of the 8th concession south through a contract change order. 4, the addition in scope of 8th concession south rehabilitation to an upset limit of $270,000, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, with $254,305 funded from the LCB and micro resurfacing contract surplus, and the remaining $15,700 to be funded through the Road Reserve Fund, and authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Ennis. And discussion on this report. No, and this is the report that explains the cancellation of the work on Sykes Street. So it's good to see that moving forward. Councillor Greenfield.
I'm going to give you just a comment. I'm so pleased that we're putting some attention on that stretch of concession 8 south. There is one area there that is in very bad shape, and this will get it cleaned up for a few years, and then inevitably we're going to have to do some major foundation construction there, but certainly this will help for the near future. Glad to see it.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. Any further comment? Then I will ask the question. All in favor? Thank you. INF 2026-12 Award Report, Structure BR 129 and BR 070. The recommendation, the Council of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve 1, transfer of $10,049 from Structure BR 129 replacement project in 2026 to pay for a portion of the engineering services for the replacement of Structure BR-70 in 2026. And 2, include an additional $40,421 from the Bridges and Structures Reserve Fund to fund a portion of the engineering services for replacement of Structure BR 70 in 2027. And 3, approve the award of proposal RFP-TS-2026-01 and 02, Structure BR 129 and Structure BR 70, replacement to R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited for $378,936.43, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST, and authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Forder and Councillor Bell. And discussion on this report. Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just a point of clarification. Under the executive summary, it states the proposal is approximately $35,834 under budget, but in the analysis, it states $34,834. Only $1,000 difference, but I'd just like to know what the correct number is, please.
And I think that will be for you, Director Parramabida.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just having a look, I would assume that there was an error made in the executive summary, but I might have to look into it just a bit more to confirm. Because, yeah, just offhand, I'm not sure which one of them is correct, but I can definitely confirm with council.
Thank you, Tori. Anything further from council? Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Well, I looked at this recommendation and I am going to vote in favor of it. One is a bridge that is not across a roadway, but across a trail. But our Georgian Trail is a very important part of our municipality. I realize that. And then I look at the second one, which is a small bridge that doesn't service a great many properties. And I see a professional services charge of $107,000 on this bridge. And I mentioned it before, but I really think not necessarily this council, but early in the days of the next council, you folks need to sit down and have a really inclusive fireside chat about bridges and roads, especially in the rural areas in this municipality. There's a lot out there. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot of expense. And I really think, I know we've got a transportation master plan, but I think this is something that needs to be revisited and rediscussed. And hopefully that will happen. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Greenfield. Any other questions? Director Pierre-Maybe-Daw.
Thank you, and your worship. I just did some quick math and it appears that the 35,834 is the correct number, not the 34,000 that is identified in the combined proposal results section. If you do look at the two tables, the one is under budget by about 86,000, while the other one is over budget by about 50, and that's what makes the difference.
Thank you for that, Tori. And to Councillor Greenfield's comments, I think you make a good point. I mean, we have a motion in place as this council that we keep all bridges open. And I believe you're suggesting that perhaps could use a review to understand if there are any bridges out there that we really could look at closing to save some funds in the next term for those members of council who may be back. That's something to keep in mind. Any further comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Legislative Services, LEG 2026-07 Administrative Penalty System, APS. Recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to 1. Bring forward a bylaw to establish an administrative penalty system. 2. Bring forward a screening and hearing officer bylaw. 3. Proceed with establishing a roster of independent hearing officers through an RFSQ process. 4. Bring forward amendments to the following bylaws at a future council meeting for enactment. A. Noise bylaw 072-2011. B. Nuisance bylaw 19-2011. C. Property standards bylaw 2019-70. D. Open burn 2022-13. E. Sign bylaw 2018-62. And F. Yard and boulevard maintenance 2020-50. 5. Bring forward an amendment to the Delegated Authority Bylaw 2014-40 as referred to in Section 8 of the Draft Administrative Penalty System Bylaw. And 6. Implement the necessary processes, procedures, and administrative policies for the administrative penalty system. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Urick and Councillor Forder. And this again is a meaty report, and it really is the opportunity for this council to make a final decision on moving forward with APPS, administrative monetary penalties. We've discussed these a few times now, but this is the do or die moment, council. So who would like to begin with comments on this report? I see that we have Holly here with us who can answer any questions. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So I'm glad that our senior bylaw officer is in attendance today. I have a question when it says about you're going to go out for a process to seek an independent hearing to establish your hearing officer. The hearing officer, are they going to be viewed as an officer of the courts, as a peace officer? Because they're going to have responsibilities to render fines and to render someone responsibility to be in contravention of what we're going to establish. That is, what is their legal authority going to be? And should a person wish to challenge their decision, what is their legal status going to be?
And Holly?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Bell. So the authority is actually through the Ontario regulation with administrative penalties. So there's criteria and policies that are set in place that we're required to abide by. So what we need to do is create a policy, and then they have to amend that, oversee and view that policy. It's not making or creating a new wheel. It's already been in place. We're just actually formalizing it in policy. So they're governing body, and then we'll have these adjudicated hearing processes as well. And then they'll have to follow that law as well. There won't be peace officers. They're more of a hearing officers, very similar to property standards hearing, but more formal in that process.
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Holly, great report, very, very thorough and very well done. And I'm very much in favor of all of it. Makes sense that we should be our own capitalizing on it as opposed to going through the province. Gosh knows there's enough delays there. So the only question I have is regarding the renters for short-term accommodation was one of the things in there. And that so much of the report deals with the logic of the bylaws that are inherent to residents. And it makes sense because we can obviously put it on the tax roll. What is is there, again, because comparators already exist, I'm sure, throughout the province. So if you are trying to administer a penalty to a short-term rental and it is the renter that are the problem and not the owner, how are you being able to really chase that? Because obviously you're not going to, unless it goes on the role of the taxpayer, which is almost unfortunate because they are ultimately responsible, but they're not the one creating the infraction. So is there a methodology in place that other municipalities are already using to chase those funds without penalizing necessarily the people that unfairly might have to pay it?
Holly?
Yeah, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Urick. So the key is what the short-term accommodation bylaw will be. So then you'd have to apply those provisions within that law to state that. And then there'll be short form wording, which they're not called, but they're penalty notices. So you could pay occupant or owner, and then it could go to owner or occupant. It all depends on the wording of the law itself. But ultimately, it does go to the tax roll and the person that's going to pay that. Ultimately, they're responsible, just like under the fire code, they're responsible. Every owner of property, owner of dwelling is responsible for that dwelling.
Okay. And Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening through you to Ms. Hines and welcome, Ms. Hines. It's always a pleasure to have you join us at our meeting. I understand this administrative or similar administrative penalty systems are in place in many Ontario municipalities. I had no idea that it was such a, I'm going to say popular incentive. And Councillor Urick mentioned short-term accommodation, and I'm hoping that in the very near future, we can get it applied to STAs, but I can understand the theory of this. It certainly makes sense. I know the POAs are not in good shape as far as collection is concerned, and they seem to be getting worse annually. But on page 12 of 14, it mentions that staff believe that the revenue impact will cover some of the anticipated operating costs for the system. And then it goes on to say that in the future, hopefully, once things get set up, revenues will be a little better compared to expenses. But I guess I'm a little bit nervous. We've just gone through 3 years of reading that our building fees do not cover our building department expenses, and I'm really, that's my only hesitation. Are we getting into something that, yes, it's a great idea, but it's maybe not going to be financially viable for the municipality? Can you help me on this? Give me some reassurance.
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Greenfield. I think people have to realize it is the same process now. If we issue a Part 1 ticket, it goes to the provincial courts. There's not really much more of administrative processes to it. There is some, but it's really judging a crystal ball of who's going to be non-compliant or not. We have that now, and I feel that there won't be an impact. It depends on the number of persons that are going to be non-compliant, but also I believe that unpaid fines, we do have that resource in-house because we can apply it to the tax roll. And we have that opportunity to apply that to the tax roll. We're right now for the first phase, I'll be the screening officer. So we're adjusting that cost within the development of it based on the laws that we have provided. If we move more laws, maybe we'll have to increase the demand in my division in order to accommodate that with a part-time person with administrative penalties. I'm not sure about that. Because I really don't know how many will be non-compliant in our processes of enforcing the legislation that's out there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Margaret.
If I may add to that, as Holly says, that it's very difficult to predict where we go from here, but I think that's sort of really the intention of the staged-in program, so that we can see what the volume is and how internal current staffing can be mobilized. And then following an analysis of the other bylaws that might be possible regulatory bylaws, that would be accompanied with some metrics at that point. That would be accompanied with a staff report to say to council, should we move forward with other designated bylaws? Here's what we anticipate will be the impact at that time. I would also note that there is a schedule that does permit us to charge for administrative costs under the legislation. This isn't something that we can necessarily do in the same way currently. So the report does outline a couple of new elements, such as a non-appearance fee and a screening decision upheld. So there are some administrative costs to help not be a cost recovery model, but certainly help to support the program itself.
Thank you for that, Margaret. Councillor Urick, and sorry, did you have a follow-up, Councillor Greenfield?
No.
That's fine for now. Okay, Councillor Urick, and then I'll come to Councillor Ennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would dare say I'm going to go one further in support, actually, is just because I'm going to make a major assumption. I know at the OPP board that earlier this year, they literally threw out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases because of backlog. I presume this gives us more teeth. I mean, this literally gives us more control, and it gives us, well, just not even just the benefit of the actual expedited expense, or I mean, cost recovery, but just the control of it long-term about not potentially even losing it, because this is happening more and more and more. So I'm presuming this gives us more control and teeth, actually, because it can go on the roll as opposed to sitting with the province and hope that it's not going to get lost in the shuffle somewhere down the line.
Thank you. And Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just to follow up on Councillor Greenfield's point, so it kind of sounds to me as though if we and all of our neighbors behave, this system would end up costing us money, and then revenues would only kind of really come in if everybody or nobody behaves. Like, does that sound kind of so in a perfect world, like it will cost us money, and then that's a win technically.
Holly?
Yes, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Ennis. So it does cost us money now because we go to the part ones and we go to the courthouse, the Ontario courthouse here in Owen Sound. So I do go to court at least 4 to 5 times a year with persons that have issued part ones or part threes or part twos. With this process, it's just we govern ourselves as a municipality and a governing body. We're not going to the Ontario courthouse. We've got the legislation under the Ontario government to actually govern ourselves and to make penalty notices and follow these strict policies and procedures. And we have to abide by those policies and procedures. If we don't, then we're not following the judicial process. And then we could be in a lot of trouble at that end of the day. And we don't want that. So that's why we're making sure that we have to put all these policies in place. We have to govern it. We have to ensure that we do govern ourselves, because in the long run, it does stop court time. I don't have to go to court. I don't have to go to see a lot of people with minor bylaw offenses. With the part 3 offenses, of course, if they're more serious in nature, we have to go to the courthouse and we talk to them and we adjourn the files, where these are very more streamlined. It's easier, streamlined process to deal with property owners that are not complying to our laws, that are minor in nature. And it also encourages that incentive to engage them to get compliance. And we do have that escalating violation as well. But our objective is always to explain, engage with the homeowner or the property owner, educate them. And if we fail at doing that, then we go to that process and we deal with it internally. And then we issue that penalty notice. And if they still don't do it, then we issue a subsequent penalty notice. And then we may go on the property and do what needs to be done. But I think the big spectrum here is it is governing ourselves. A lot of municipalities see this as a benefit. We see it as a benefit as well, because then we can govern ourselves as a municipality to get compliance to people that are delinquent.
Okay. I see everybody around the table nodding, so this is a good thing. Holly, you've done a really terrific job of further explaining the administrative monetary penalties and the benefits to the municipality where we retain the revenue. And as you say, through the education, if we can encourage compliance, then that is definitely a good thing too. Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, and we're ready for updates from County Council, so that will be myself. County Council last met on May the 28th. After the adoption of minutes, Director of Long-Term Care Jennifer Cornell reviewed the minutes of the May 19th Long-Term Care Committee of Management, which included a director's update and an operational report. Director Cornell stressed that LTC staff have ongoing alignment in every capacity with ministry guidelines. Additional funding has been received from the province for the behavioral support wing at Grey Gables, which is good news. Workforce attraction and retention are a priority at all 3 homes. And 250 staff members at Lee Manor have been recently trained with dementia care, and that's a new program from the province. The new Rockwood Terrace in Durham is 60% complete, with move-in anticipated March of 2027. Council engaged in a long discussion regarding a staff report suggesting that all but 2 county committees be dissolved. The Accessibility Advisory Committee and the Long-Term Care Committee of Management are required to continue, which means that the Agricultural Advisory, the Rockwood Development Task Force, Community Services, Shared Services, Planning, Economic Development, Arts and Cultural Advisory would all be dissolved. The Finance Committee was already dissolved after the completion of the 2026 budget, and the Urban Road Exchange Committee will end in September. Several members of County Council spoke to the advantages of committee work, and we hear that around this table too. The opportunity for small group consideration and the ability to bring in subject matter experts through community membership and the ability to undertake the preparation of recommendations for council. The new term of council will reassess and will determine which committees to reinstate. For now, the existing committees, with the exception of finance, will continue. The Going Green and Gray report was deferred until June 11th. The Regional Transit Update report was also postponed, and as new information from the ministry had just been received that morning. Director Anne Marie Shaw presented the 10-year Housing and Homelessness Plan update, which, once approved by council, will be submitted to the province. Funding for this purpose is provided by the federal and provincial governments, as well as the County of Gray. People with lived experience were consulted during the preparation of the report. The feedback to council is that more geared to income housing is needed. The existing stock must be better maintained, and more integrated supports are needed. The plan for the next 10 years is to construct 130 units, with 50 of them designed as supportive housing. It's very challenging to attract affordable rental units, as a significant funding is required to make these projects viable. Many of the residents have mental health needs, which the county provides support mechanisms for. Grey County is leading in many areas of attempting to solve homelessness in the province. The county levy, this is important, the county levy for homelessness and supportive housing is over $7 million. The province does add additional funds, and those funds usually assist with tenant rents. Councillor Body called for recounted votes as listeners could hear the full support of county councillors for the efforts of staff to address homelessness in Grey. As we often hear that, the problem is just growing. We see more people on the streets all the time, but it is important to recognize that Grey County, as I said, is really on the leading edge of trying to solve this problem. There was a request to hire a custodian for county housing units in Meaford and the town of the Blue Mountains, which council approved. And that is it for my county report. The Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Greenfield, that's.
Thank you. Yes,
Over
we
to
did
you.
have a meeting last week. It pretty well one item agenda. Our deputy clerk, Ms. Penner, took the committee through the election process for 2026, how we're going to vote, and in particular, any assistance that anyone with any type of accessibility might face during the election campaign, and especially when it comes to the voting process. Ms. Penner was very complete in her description, and wanted everyone to know that, hey, there is help out there. Don't be afraid to ask, and we want to ensure that everyone has the right to listen and learn through the campaign, and to be able to get their vote in. And if while I have the mic, just wanted to mention that the CEO Evaluation Committee for the Meaford Public Library, the committee met last week and went through the evaluation process with our CEO, Ms. Fascinato, and I'm pleased to say that those who did the evaluation were very, very positive about Ms. Fascinato's performance at the library. I think of all the evaluations that came in, likely Ms. Fascinato had the lowest marks herself, and we were quite surprised about that. But she's a determined lady. She She wants to improve her situation, and we gave her all the support necessary, and so we're looking forward to more really good things from the Meaford Public Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield, and certainly we know that CEO Fashionado and all the staff at the public library do a great job. We're lucky to have each and every one of them. Were there any other boards or committees to report on? Yes, please go ahead, Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Grey Bruce OPP Detachment Board met on May 26th. The board received and approved a report regarding an official communications policy, which provided a clear framework for how the board communicates with the public, media, and stakeholders. The board received a governance self-assessment toolkit developed by the Police Governance Ontario, which provides a political that was a slip because I'm going to bring it up, a practical framework for OPP boards to evaluate their governance effectiveness through an annual board self-assessment survey. The results will be compiled as general trends and key themes for presentation to the board. At presentation, the board may wish to identify 2 to 4 priority governance improvements and track progress as part of regular board planning going forward. Frankly, I thought that was a really interesting one because I've kind of brought up with past CAOs here. I think this is also something that could almost be utilized by municipal councils. I often wonder who watches the watchers, who marks us. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to actually have, very much like the OPP boards do, is to have a self-assessment toolkit where boards or municipal councilors and mayors, deputy mayors could actually give feedback. And I think that's something you might bring up at AMO, just because I think that would be a valuable tool that all 444 could utilize in determining their effectiveness and practicality moving forward. So that really tweaked with me. Moving forward, there was much discussion regarding a motion declaring that municipalities should bear the costs for the First Nation representatives on the board. The OPP budget for the municipality, it started at $5,000 in $5,000 in 2024, increased to $10.8 thousand in 2025, and if this goes through, it will now increase to $13.8 thousand if those First Nation fees are absorbed. The board felt that this was unfair to the municipalities and will first contact SON to discuss before approaching the province. Designated board members will also seek delegations at AMO and discuss with our local MPP because the First Nation representatives, they felt, should actually be kind of self-funding entities like the municipalities are. And finally, there was recognition for the Ontario Police Foundation Ceremony of Remembrance held in early May. This annual ceremony provides a solemn opportunity to reflect on the inherent risks faced by police officers in the course of their duties and on the lasting impact their service has on the safety and well-being of communities throughout Ontario.
Thank you, Councillor Urick. And do you have another report?
If you're not done with me yet,
Okay.
the Grey Salvo Conservation Authority board met on May 27th. And at that meeting, the board received the final 2025 audited financial report for Baker Tilly, with everything being in good shape, with a $190,000 surplus and a staff 2026 Q1 budget report showing everything is on target. Although with the looming Conservation Authorities amalgamation, there's much concern as to how budgets and municipal funding will be impacted moving forward, obviously. The official amalgamation of the 6 local CAs that will combine to form the new Lake Huron Region Conservation Authority is scheduled to commence on February 1st, 2027. The CAOs of the 6 CAs existing met to discuss the next steps and estimate that the actual functional amalgamation will probably take 2 to 3 years, as there will be many different financial and operational processes that will have to be morphed into a single entity. A transition committee is to be formed, including the CAO of each CA and 1 board member. GSCA appointed Vice Chair Jennifer Shaw of Aaron Eldersley to be its representative. I asked how the funding municipalities would receive communications as to the amalgamation process, and the increased financial obligations due to 3 new added levels of governance. And CAO Lantier advised that this has not been determined yet, but they will follow up because somehow that messaging of what happens at those meetings needs to get down to us. So because we're the ones that are going to eventually fit the bill, and we need to be able to have a voice with the province in saying what that's going to look like. Finally, that meeting was the last one that the GSEA would hold in Grey County Council chambers, as it is moving back into the newly renovated administration building on May 31st weekend last. So we look forward to meeting in the new and improved GSEA home for our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question for my fellow councillor Urick. I had to send my regrets and I was unable to attend that last meeting of Grey Sauble. But from what you've just said, it sounds like Grey Sauble is going to carry on in its format for the foreseeable future. So we'll be able to enjoy that new administration center. If you just said it's going to take 2 or 3 years, which to me is, I missed that because I wasn't there, but that's an important comment that you've made, that this isn't being rushed through. There's just going to be more time required. So status quo, is that what I'm getting or not?
Councillor Urick.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. No, I wish that was the case. So what's happening is actually in February of 2027, that amalgamation is being ramrodded through. So that's going to take place. So essentially those 6 CAs are going to be morphed into the one. They fully recognize that that is going to be tumultuous at best. So they figure realistically under that umbrella, somehow these bodies are still going to have to maintain and work through kind of doing what they're doing, while in the background, yes, there's going to be much efforts from various entities trying to figure out how to untangle each budget, each investments, all the property owned, and trying to figure out how to administer all that. So that's why they think it's going to realistically be a 2 to 3 year process. But realistically on day one, no, they're amalgamating into one, figure it out from there. So it's really going to be wild. So one another thing I discovered, which is really interesting, come this election in November, we obviously as a municipality assign council members to sit on that board during the once it comes to fruition. Come November, when the election happens, if I am not going to be reelected, then, or any of those members from municipalities, some of them are not running again. They will be expected to stay on as volunteers until that amalgamation takes place, because municipalities do not normally within the first literally month make those appointments. So there is a gap there that happens that they have to still have the meetings and carry on. The board members will be asked to continue, even if they're not sitting in their elected positions, and until the municipalities can assign the proper individuals.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Another question to Councillor Urick. Just thinking about funding. So you said that all of kind of for the foreseeable future, while they work through this transmission committee, all of the CEOs from the constituent conservation authorities are still going to be working under the greater conservation, the new greater sort of conservation authority. Is there still going to be adequate funding for them to be staying on and doing all this work if some of the board members are going to be doing so on a volunteer basis? Or is this just going to be kind of pandemonium with staffing?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, it's going to be pandemonium. So what's going to happen is those 6 CAs have independent CAOs. There's going to be one, it's very likely there's going to be one CAO. You will probably have those 6 applying for it, as well as many others who else will. The transition committee is designed to get it up to that start point. At that point, the CAOs could effectively be out of a job. So they're definitely not going to be probably out of the goodness of their hearts staying on to untangle that mess. So at that point in time, the transition committee is going to have to figure out whether they continue that without those CAOs, take a different look at it, still have structural buy-in from all those CAs that are still kind of existing as entities independently in their own regions, just under one umbrella, and they'll all have to come together to do that. nobody can answer the question right now, what this looks like financially, and this is what is the most frustrating, and we keep bringing back, is that we have no idea how much of an increase this is gonna be to municipalities. It is zero transparency. The province isn't coming forward with any formulations at all. And we know they're adding 3 different levels of governments ahead of it. So it is really gonna be, municipalities obviously have large stakes in this, and they're gonna have to really make a lot of noise about how this is going to impact them, because it's gonna cost more money no matter what you do. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, to say the least.
Okay. Any other boards or committees that anyone has attended? Okay, then it is time to move out of committee of the whole. The recommendation be it resolved that council of the municipality of Meaford hereby move out of committee of the whole at 3:14 PM. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Porter and Councillor Ennis, all in favor? Thank you. We're ready for councillor motions. Okay. I have a notice of motion, and it is following Director Can's report today on the urban area growth management update. I will be bringing a motion forward requesting a review of the secondary planning area boundaries. So we will see that at our next meeting. And there is a motion for decision. And because it is my motion, I'm going to ask Councillor Greenfield, would you assume the chair, please? Councillor Greenfield?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Yes, this is item 11.2 on our agenda, motions for decisions, and Deputy Mayor Keaveney has a motion, and I'm assuming you would want to move it to bring it forward.
I will.
And can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bell. Okay, Deputy Mayor Keaveney, would you like to read through your motion?
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. Yes, and this is the procedure with the mayor not present. I can't assume the chair and bring a motion forward. So that's why we've done what we've done here with Councillor Greenfield. So the motion is in regards to a secondary plan for Leith. And it reads, whereas 1 kilometer of infrastructure improvements on Bayshore Road from Princess Street at Gray Road 15 to the first bridge was approved in 2021, and whereas design and engineering took place between 2021 and 2023, with construction to be completed in 2026, and whereas this work was intended to address drainage issues on Bayshore Road, Princess Street, and Market Lane, and whereas the project was to include the installation of a water main service saddles, which was later removed, and whereas large ditches resulting from the current construction are undesirable, and whereas Grey County has committed upgrades to Gray Road 15 in their capital plan, and whereas this project does not have needed improvements to the water system, nor is it bringing the road to an acceptable standard for our residents, therefore, be it resolved that this motion directs staff to prepare a report to be presented at the July 27th meeting of council that will identify a secondary plan inclusive of Market Lane, Princess Street, Bayshore Road, and Tom Thompson Lane that will identify a path forward for an urbanized standard, stormwater infrastructure, and a complete water main replacement, and that the report will clarify traffic calming measures to be completed in the summer of 2026, and the report will require a fulsome review of the budgeting and project execution process for the entire Bayshore Road capital project to date, and that staff provide regular project status updates to Leith residents impacted by the Bayshore Road capital project until its completion. And I think everybody is well aware that this has been a challenging project out in Leith that has gone on now for 3-ish years, and it's still not completed. And in my mind, we really need to go almost back to the drawing board and get this project right and work with the County of Gray to bring this road up to the standards that we can accept and be proud of. So that's the reasoning for bringing the project forward. The residents out there have been patiently waiting for the completion of this project. And I think we need to do what we can to make sure that it's done and done right this time. Back
Thank
to you,
you,
Councillor
Deputy Mayor,
Greenfield.
for that. Any comments, questions to the Deputy Mayor concerning her notice of motion?
Thank you, Acting Chair, Councillor Greenfield. I'm glad that you brought this forward, Madam Deputy Mayor. It is a situation where the folks down there are more than the word disappointed. And they've been disappointed for various amounts of lateral and bilateral interchanging of corporations, and someone says to do this and then there's no movement and it's somebody else's responsibility. And the matrix of it all just makes for a time delay, which you're bringing forward, that they've been living with this and what they don't like to see and what they don't want to have out front of their homes along the street. So I'm glad that you've brought this forward. And it's not that in any way to any member of our staff. They've been working on this thing. Everybody's been working on this and everybody's had input on this. And yet it's at the point when the folks go out front, they go, the ditches are huge, there's water in the bottom, the culverts are too high, their bulrushes are growing, the water's not moving, almost to the point where they wish they'd never said, can you do something for us in Leith? So it's not a good situation by any stretch of the imagination. And so I'm glad that you're bringing it forward. I'm glad that you've got a timeline on this, because I'm sure that our staff, with the timeline that's put here, they will have all of the background and all of the dynamics which have taken place on that, taking us up right to the date that you want to hear a report on. So I'm glad that as a council and through yourself, that we can show the residents there that we've heard them and we're concerned, and that you brought forward a notice of motion on this to do some action, maybe a different avenue of action. So I support it. I'm going to raise my hand to affirm this, and thank you again just for bringing this forward, and bringing it to light on a lot of aspects that have transpired. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other comments or questions for Deputy Mayor Feely? Hearing none, then I will ask for your vote on the notice of motion. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, and turn the chair position back to the Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Greenfield, for leading that. We're ready for adoption of minutes. The council meetings of May 4th, May 15th, and May 19th, 2026. The recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meetings held on May 4th, 2026, May 15th, 2026, and May 19th, 2026, and the closed meeting held on May 19th, 2026. If anybody had a question on that, of course, we'd have to go into close to discuss it, but shall we adopt those minutes all in one vote? Everybody in agreement on doing that? Councillor Greenfield? Okay, so a mover and a seconder then to adopt all of those minutes. Councillor Forder, Councillor Greenfield, and all in favor? Thank you. Is there anything from the communications that anyone would like to address today? We can include the correspondence list there as well, if there's anything from communications or correspondence. I'm not seeing any hands. We're all good. Okay, I'll move on then to the confirming bylaw. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2026-45, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Urick and Councillor Bell. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Then we are adjourned at 3:23 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone, for a good meeting.